Hey everyone, welcome. This is Kenlin and Soul Talks, the transmission of Gene Key 41. You are receiving a new mission. Whether you know it or not, you're receiving a new mission. And everything you've done has gotten you to this point. So here's what's happening. Gene Key 41, the sun is hitting the codon that is the initiation of a new beginning. It's the disruptor. It's the evolutionary leader that says, we are now no longer doing the past. We are poised for something new. Every year at this time, the sun hits Gene Key 41. And what makes it ultra special this year is that Pluto has moved into Aquarius, 0 degrees, the initiation point. So all of it converging to really midwife us into a new normal. And when I say normal, I don't even mean normal, because Aquarius is anything but normal. It's fringe. It's outside the norm. And so we're going into energy that's highly innovative and highly outside the norm. So let's presence that everything we have learned up to this point got us here. Who we are now, especially as awakened spiritual women on your path, everything has gotten you here. All your trials, all the tribulations, all the suffering, all the initiations, all the shocks have gotten you here. But we're not taking that forward, at least not in terms of your mission. In terms of who you're being, that gets to receive a new mission. And I'm on the mat with you. So let's presence a couple things as we learn what that means through Gene Key 41. Gene Key 41 is the frequency of evolution, which I love because we're in an evolutionary moment. This evolutionary moment is the changing of an age. Pluto was in Capricorn for the last 15 years, took a wrecking ball to hierarchies, structure. And one of the things Pluto likes to do is just unearth from like the shadowy dregs, whatever it is we don't want to see, and make us see it. Because the Lord of Death and Rebirth doesn't really care if you're comfortable. The Lord of Death and Rebirth wants the truth. And so we've been through that rite of passage. And really, I feel like it only has just begun in getting clear about the corruption and the lies that are underneath the ways that we have built society. So now with Pluto's move into Aquarius, and I'm just going to presence it and then I'll do more videos about it because it deserves like an entire series. And I'm lit up about it because it's aligning tomorrow with the sun moving into Gene Key 41, which is the evolutionary gene key. And the programming partner is Gene Key 31. That's leadership. So we're really talking about an evolutionary leader. And if you know me and my work, I stand for the feminine really leading the way, because what's happened is so much of our masculine principles have gotten us to where we are, and it will not take us forward. There's no way. It's not sustainable. What's going to take us forward is integrating the feminine principle. And not the shadow feminine principle, but the higher octave, the higher frequency of the feminine principle, together with the higher frequency of the masculine principle, is really what's going to enable us to bring wholeness to ourselves and to the planet. Because what's at stake is really life on Earth. What's at stake is organic life. There's so much to say about that, and I'll pick that theme up when I talk more about Aquarius and what does Aquarius stand for, and also what Pluto stands for, and put the two of them together. And we have kind of a picture over really what's going to happen over the next 20 years, but also it's going to continue through our entire lifetime. Like this ripple effect will last through our entire lifetime. So gene key 41 is the beginning. It's that code in the DNA that says, listen, guys, it's completely new. We're starting a new path. And we have this every year in the cycle. We come to this being the New Year's Day, the beginning of a new cycle. The shadow is fantasy. The shadow is really the wheel of samsara. And what is the wheel of samsara? This made up story that we make up, stories in our mind of how we will be happy. If I had this, then I'll be happy. And so Gene Key 41 is asking you to die to that, because in the I Ching, 41 is called the decrease. I mean, that hits me hard because we think of the future as such an increase. But really what the decrease means is that there's a season for everything. And inside the wheel of samsara is both this and that. So Richard Rudd presences in 41 that, like, when you're hungry, you have a fantasy about filling yourself and food, and whether it's hungry for literal food in your physical body, or hungry for a relationship, or hungry for money, or hungry for success, you have a fantasy about it. And then when you have it, you have the fantasy in the opposite direction. I mean, this hits people at all levels. Like, you have a fantasy of having a baby, and then you have the baby, and then you have a fantasy of being alone and having some of your alone time restored to you. Do you see the pendulum that we're on of duality? Because baked into having is the absence of having. Baked into the absence of having is the having. And that is part of the wheel of samsara, always wanting what's outside of us. So Gene Key 41 is like, die to that. Die to those things outside you that you think are going to fulfill you, and really be here now, be present, because the gift is anticipation. And the way I read that anticipation is this kind of prime directive. If we're so busy with our plan and so busy trying to get things, and it really is about manifesting on the material plane, so that's legit. But there's a way of manifesting what's in the here and now, following the Shakti. Anticipation to me is following the Shakti. Where's the energy? What wants to happen? So instead of banging our heads against the wall, trying to make some vision from the inside happen on the outside, and planning and having agreements and trying to nail people down, and none of that's wrong, but it's a trap if we think we're going to get something. Instead, we get to follow the flow of the Shakti. Where's the energy? And that's going to be super important to be an evolutionary feminine leader. Part of your superpower is following the Shakti, because you are the embodiment of the Shakti. So when there's like a cultivated awareness in our body to just follow the truth, because Pluto is going to be like, truth. Let's go with the truth. If you're willing to say what's true, you're willing to go with the truth. You know, like you get a really seductive offer. It could be, you know, in relationship, it could be in a job, it could be monetarily, it could be, you know, whatever. You get a really seductive offer and your mind is like going, oh, I totally want to take that offer because I'll probably never get that kind of offer again. It's too good to be true. On paper, it looks amazing. It's everything I wanted, but something doesn't feel right. And so the evolutionary feminine leader in the gift frequency of anticipation goes, I'm going to follow the feeling. I'm going to follow that I'm going to ask more questions. I'm going to ask for more information. I'm going to not be afraid to lose the thing, because I know that my service isn't to me having on the wheel of samsara. My service is to the divine. And that's the city. The ultimate frequency is emanation. It's the source point of origin. It's the God molecule in every single cell of your body. There's God. That emanation in you, in me, in out there, in everything. So following that spark of light, which is through our embodiment, like highlighting, emanating the frequency of the divine, is what we're here to do. And that's going to be a huge choice point. Because while the future is different than anything we have ever imagined, it can go one of two ways. It can go many ways, but let's just position it as binary. It can go into a devoluted state, or it can go into an evoluted, I just made that word up, an evolved state. It's not guaranteed. It is absolutely not guaranteed. And every energy, every signature has a shadow and a light. And really, it's our vibrational capacity that ignites the light. And so what vibrational capacity are we willing to step into? Now, I'm going to presence a few things because it's not going to be easy. The road that we're headed down, we have never been headed down before, ever. So we're carving new territory, and it's going to require a deep trust. I remember in 2019, in my town, there was like 200 people that gathered at the library on this one seemingly insignificant day to hear 3 people speak about the future. They're futurists. They're in a think tank together. And if you saw them at a coffee shop, they just look like normal dudes, varying in age range, but carrying a particular evolutionary code that in 2016 wasn't really even fully awakened in the collective. And one of them said that the future humans are going to look so different than how we look today. That in fact, we today have more in common with Stone Age man than we do with the future humans. Like in 20 years, future humans. That I have been digesting for 7 years since I heard that. That's revolutionary to me. I'm not saying it's true or not true. It's just a context. And when I look at the context of Aquarius, the context of Pluto in Aquarius, that will last for 19 years, and the ripple effect being felt throughout the rest of our lifetime, and in fact, throughout the rest of humanity until the next epoch change. I am humbled. I am humbled. And so we don't know what we don't know. And our minds do not like uncertainty. And Aquarius does not like uncertainty. You know, Aquarian energy likes certainty and knowing and words and intellect and science. And indeed, AI is born of all of that. And that technology is exponential. So that means that the growth curve is like a hockey stick. You know, Capricorn is so like brick by brick, you know, step by step. Aquarius is like, screw that. No, we're going quantum. And that has good news for our leadership, for our spiritual leadership, because we have an opportunity to go quantum. We have an opportunity to collapse timelines. So as evolutionary feminine leaders, we have to bring through a couple things. One is trust. We get to really trust our connection with the divine. And we're going to have some planetary support with that. I think that when the nodal axis shifts into Pisces North Node, we're going to become more spiritual, more spiritually even aware. And that will give us the understanding that when we're dealing with the imaginal realm, and if you followed my talks before, you know I call that in the map of consciousness, World 24, it's non-causal. It's not linear. It is quantum. It is that hockey stick. And the awakening that's possible, because we have Uranus, the great awakener, ruling Aquarius, is part of what evolutionary feminine leaders get to bring in. So trust, let's go back to trust, trusting your connection with the divine, making that a priority, making that the place of your grounding, because our nervous systems are going to get freaked out and fried out with the electrical energy, the swiftness of Aquarius, if we're not rooted in something else, which to me is our spirit self. Yeah, there's so much to say about Aquarius, and I'm going to leave that for other videos. But for now, I'm going to keep going with our evolutionary self. So what else is required? I think for feminine leaders, it's bringing their spiritual gifts through. That's the second thing. And there's going to be great permission. So as you've gone through Capricorn has had you be responsible for some things. Capricorn loves responsibility. So you've had to be responsible for a few things. You've had to learn how to be responsible for your gifts. And that your gifts actually come through your template, which means that we get to stop wanting to be someone else. We are this template. We are spirit in this body. And your natal chart gives you a little snapshot of a perspective of what that could look and feel like to be you. So I believe that Capricorn, that Pluto has been in Capricorn, has really, for us personally, and it's not a personal planet, but I will say that look at where you've been taking responsibility, where you've been getting your power back. We also went through the North Node in Taurus, and that's really valuing our worth and valuing our contribution. So we have all those things online to really, in this era, trust and bring forth our spiritual gifts. And I'm going to seed one more thing. There's a lot to say, but there's just one more thing I'm going to seed, and that is that Aquarian energy is communal energy. It's the we space. And while we have our North Node in Aries, which is the I space, and we are really, shining forth as the I, and the opposite of Aquarius is Leo, bringing in that heart-ruled leader. Ultimately, where we're going is the we, the collective. And thank Goddess, because the polarization that's happening is too much. But Aquarius is also kind of weird in that it's very introverted and it doesn't really like people. It's the humanitarian that doesn't like people. Oh my Goddess, can you relate to that? So we get to recalibrate that our skill set, and I don't even think we have any right now, but that's what that gets to come online, is a new skill set for getting along with others and accepting people radically where they're at, believing that when they're the most self-expressed, fulfilled, who they are, it's going to be better for everyone. And that society has a level of workability when everyone is being who they authentically are. And that level of workability can translate into communal aspects. And there's some shadow to it, and I'll deal with that in another video, but suffice it to say, here we are at the beginning, initiating ourselves into a new normal, which is far from normal. The future looks nothing like the past. And so I'm going to end where I started, and that is that you're given a new mission. And everything has prepared you for this. So everything in the past has prepared you for this now. But the kicker is, even the vision you had of yourself, whatever story you're telling yourself, you get to free up your psychic space and let that go. Oh, if only I were in relationship. That's the longing of my heart. Yeah, acknowledge your longing and then let it go. Don't live inside the wheel of samsara. Let the divine be in charge of that. Because what we have conceived of is based on the structures, including relationship structures, including internal structures of how we've had it in the past. There are way new things coming through that we have never seen, that when we're on the edge of it is going to scare the shit out of us. And so we get to come back to our spiritual practice and remember why we incarnated. Remember that we're here. I always say, we're the A team. If you're listening to this, you're the A team. It's like, how they send the Navy SEALs in to do the thing. You're the Navy SEAL team, only spiritually. So you're the spiritual A team here to remember who you are. And that the biggest thing you can contribute, Gene Key 41 says, is your frequency. And when your frequency is at a place where these light codes get activated, the codes of evolution get activated inside of you, you have access to the morphogenetic field. So things can just come through. And that's really how we're going to compete with AI, how we're going to stay relevant. Because we're going to have gnosis. We're going to have things that just come through, but you've got to prepare the template. And the template cannot have the old baggage. So I invite you, now's the time to shake it out, let it go. And we're going to have another pass at this as Pluto goes retrograde back into Capricorn for 3 months later this year, until it goes full swing into Aquarius. And we just begin to discover. And the pacing is going to quicken. It's electrical, ether, air, energy. And I'll say more about that later. I'm going to stop myself right now. Let's say more about that later, because there's so many things that are going to be new. Like today, I'm just going to end with this. In the Sisterhood activation, someone talked about their vision being this step-by-step path built with stone. And they were getting that it's actually now a rushing river that has banks to it. And I thought that was so beautiful as an analogy, because Aquarius, the archetype of Aquarius is the water bearer. It's an air energy, but it's the water bearer. And I just love that for so many reasons. But suffice it to say, that's what she got. That's the vision she got. And she knows nothing about astrology and is just learning about human design and the I Ching and gene keys. But she saw the image. And so that's tapping into the morphogenetic field and seeing the picture of what Aquarius looks like. It looks like water on a super cosmological highway. And so what are you getting? What's your new mission? Allow the old one to go. I mean, I'm even doing that. It's not that I have no vision, because without a vision, we have no aim. We have no place. We don't know where we're going, but it's really letting it go. Like, if it doesn't work out that way, it's going to work out another way, and believing that I'm on this course, this river, and it will take me somewhere. And I am directing the boat and going with the current. That's a beautiful analogy. So you're prepared for this. Everything you've done has prepared you. You get to trust that, know that. And I'll see you on the next video. I'm just going to stop there. I'll see you on the next video as we dial in more about what does Pluto in Aquarius really mean for us.